Hello, everyone. Welcome back to FastForward U presents Start Here. I'm Carrie Ingram.
I'm Erica Avery.
And we're recording, well, I guess it's technically still not live, but we're recording in person for the first time. It's very weird adjusting. We spent like the last 20 minutes trying to figure this out. So hopefully the audio turns out well. But we're really excited to get back and recording these podcasts for you guys and talking to some really interesting entrepreneurs in Baltimore and beyond. Today's episode is featuring Lauretta Hamza.
Yeah, so she contacted us. She is the communications and marketing person for Helium Health. She does a lot, and she is just also has her own startup. So she does so many things. Really knowledgeable and fun to talk to, and just has a lot of wisdom. Really fun interview.
Yeah, she was super awesome because she had so much to give, and yet she was such a humble being. Yeah. And then for her to balance and really know Helium Health so well, but also have her own stationery company, was super cool. So, without further ado, we'll get to our Zoom interview with Lauretta. Welcome, Lauretta. We're really excited to talk with you today about yourself, about Helium Health. And my first question is always the same on every podcast episode that we have. So I'd just like to learn a little bit more about who you are, your connection with entrepreneurship, and what Helium Health is all about.
Okay, so I'm a communications professional. I enjoy working in healthcare, so I do some public health work on the field. I also have touched a bit on policy making or shaping policy generally with insights I get from data. And at Helium, I am the social media and community engagement analyst. I'll get to what Helium is about soon. And I am not just about work or public health. I also have a deep passion for creativity and innovators. So I launched a brand called Scribble Hoard. And what the brand does is literally provide stationaries and like sketch pads to inspire creativity, just get you ideating and things like that. I also enjoy traveling. And people call me Minister of Enjoyment because I like to go out. I like to eat good food. And yes, that's just around about me. So Helium Health is a health tech startup. What the company does is provide technological solutions to stakeholders in healthcare. I mean, providers, patients, even payers, the public health sector, just making sure that Africa as a continent transitions from its paper-based manual operational model into a data and a technology-driven sector. So yes, that's what Helium does.
And how did you find out about Helium Health in order to join the team?
Okay, so it's quite interesting that when I graduated, I wanted to go back to school to study medicine because, I mean, if you're in Nigeria, if you're from like, you have African parents, if you're not a doctor or you're not a lawyer or you're not an engineer, I mean, you literally have no profession. So I kind of felt like I needed to be in the medical sector to do well in the public or in the healthcare space. But I liked medicine, I liked health, but I also saw or noticed that I loved communicating, like talking to people. And I didn't even know technology could help. That was in 2017. And I just started taking up projects. I worked first with one health tech startup. I didn't even know they were health tech. I didn't know anything about health tech. I just wanted to work there because I liked what they were doing. And then it was until 2019 that I discovered Helium. I was searching. It's weird, but I had this intuition to look up companies in health tech here in Nigeria or even across Africa. And then I found out about Helium Health. I was like, oh my God, this company is beautiful. I watched a bunch of videos about their work. I listened to the CEO, Adegoke Oludisi, on Forbes because he was presenting something on Forbes. I was like, oh God, I really want to work in this company. But I didn't do anything about it until 2020, the year of the pandemic. Yeah, so I was like, you know what? I've seen this company before. I like what they do. How about I send the CEO a DM on Instagram? So I took my phone, I went on Instagram, and He responded, I think, after 2 weeks of seeing the message, and he asked me to send my CV to the company, which I did, and I got called for the interview.
That's so awesome. And I'm pretty sure I already know the answer is going to be yes to this, but I'll ask just in case. I'm assuming that with your passion with creativity and innovation, that you're getting that in your role here at Helium Health. How do you foster that in that company?
Okay, so in Helium, one or the things that we do to make sure that first the company is meeting its targets. In fact, I think when you're in a company, it's good to be innovative. It's good to want to drive a change, but now I understand and I have it at the back of my mind that whatever I'm doing has to some sort convert in a way, or when I say convert, like bring about a change that helps the company be better than what it was before. So I'm very particular about doing things that will help the company reach its goals and its objectives. So first thing is you need to know what the company's goals and objectives are. I mean, in transparent companies, I would encourage every organization to be transparent anyway. But for instance, in Helium, they share it with everybody. So like if you're in the company, you know what the goals for the year will be, you know what the goals per quarter will be. And so what I do is just leverage something I'll call key marketing blocks. I mean, there's thought leadership, there's lead generation, there's content marketing, there's, the brand management, and then there are expansions where you create strategies to launch in different regions. So I work in between all of these blocks to ensure that the company is hitting its targets. And because imagine if we're doing things that establishes us as a thought leader in the space of healthcare, then more people will get to know about our work. And also innovators or investors rather would then see us and then come and support the work that we're doing. If I'm creating content that tells good stories around the products that we have, more health practitioners will be inclined to adopt our solutions in their facilities. So that's how I look at things. And I would encourage anybody going into communications to also look at things from these blocks.
What kind of things do you do kind of day to day to promote Helium's mission as someone who's working in communications?
For me, my day starts with grabbing my notepad. Some days I do it the night before, just thinking about, I like to think a lot. I like to give myself space to kind of really just breathe and enjoy the moments of being with myself and thinking about, okay, what creative or innovative thing can I do next? Or what am I doing and how can I be better with it? But I'll start with what my day looks like on a typical day. I'll wake up, grab my, do my morning routine, workout or whatever, meditation sometimes. And then when I get to my work desk, which is typically at 9 a.m., I would then grab my notepad, look at my to-do list for the day, which would literally be, most times it would be things to share across our social media platforms. On some days, I have to, I have media engagement, like it could be answering interview questions from like press or media. Other times it could be me trying to schedule meetings with like interviews or calls with other executives within the organization so that they know, what to do, how to do it. Other times it would be, so I've mentioned content marketing, I've mentioned, and content marketing, I mean, some days I have to draft copies, I have to write scripts. For copies, I'll send it to the design team and then they're responsible for making sure that these designs come out as I want them to come out. There are times they would revise, that's there as well. And then some days I have to go, so we operate remotely in Helium. So some days, the only days I go to the office are days that we have high level strategy meetings or we have shoots. So the scripts I've made, you go and read it. So that's a typical day. But then I'll say that one big part of my day is reading, researching, and looking for ways to actually make my work better than it was yesterday. Because if you are if you occupy a position where you are not constantly growing, then I think that's very bad.
Agreed. And That sparks an interesting question from my end, just because I work for marketing and communications for FastForward U. Erica's our communications intern, so we both understand like a regular day is not necessarily a regular day in the spot of communication. It's always changing,
Yeah,
always having so many hats.
exactly.
And I'm curious to know, from our perspective, we work at an incubator that helps to kind of advise other startups, but you work specifically
Mm-hmm.
at a startup. So what advice would you have to any entrepreneurs or anybody on a startup team that is in your position, as far as how to balance being able to be the best in communications and marketing for your startup?
For starters, one thing I would like to say is I don't think this is common in like developed countries, but in I've heard the young people say, "Oh, I want to venture, into the world of startup because I won't get to work in 9 to 5. I'll be my own boss and things like that." But entrepreneurs are people who don't rest on their laurels. And definitely, if you want to get into a startup, you have to, first things first, know that the work is, you're going to be working. You are going to be working really hard, which is not a bad thing because it gives you that room to grow like really, really fast. And something else is entrepreneurs are problem solvers. And this is tied to the ability to be very grounded in research. You need to understand the sector you want to get into before you get into it, because you cannot provide solution to a sector that you literally have no idea about. For instance, healthcare is very complex and it's more annoying because it's complex, but you then have to provide simple solutions. If you're coming with technical terms, nobody's going to listen to you. In fact, one thing that makes Helium very unique is because they were able to create a solution that medical professionals are actually addicted to using. It's so easy, well designed, interface is amazing. It's not a complex tool, and so you find it easy to use. So that's something else you must understand. And I'm always watching out for that. Like if you look on our social media platforms, for example, we don't write complicated captions. We break things down in a way that you understand it. And that's what I think is very critical, understanding the sector you're going into and then looking for problems to solve and solving those problems as simple or as you can. And then I would say perseverance and networking are my two top skills. I have good experiences, right? I'm working in a startup and I'm an entrepreneur, like I have a small scale business that I'm running. So I've seen both ways. You need to learn to persevere. There are times where things may not be particularly rosy, like things won't go like you want it to go, but you have to endure that or endure through that phase. And then networking is also key because I'm coming to see that the people in your circle are going to be your first advocate. So if you don't have enough people in your circle or you don't have the right people in your circle, I don't know how far you would go as a person. And these skills are you can even take it into the company you're working with. For example, in a startup, we're a small company. So why are you not like bonding with other team members to see how well you can build and drive an innovation? One man is very little, but when you have somebody else, it then makes the work, better. And I think I'll wrap up with you need to learn to strengthen your leadership skills. Like, I feel like every single person working in a startup is a leader because you get to make critical decisions, you get to take ownership of your work, you get to drive innovation. Because startup is not the place where people bog you down. Like for instance, I'll give a very good example. I was just thinking and I was like, why not? We have a podcast studio in the office, right? Why not create a proposal to shoot a podcast called Let's Talk Public Health, where you invite different stakeholders within the healthcare space in Africa to talk about the work that they do. And I don't know how well this would have, if the management would have accepted this idea if I was working, let's say, in a fully established organization where things already have a structure. Here, everybody is open to you speaking up. Everybody's like, we literally operate on a flat structure. So just come with your ideas and we're ready to roll with it. And if you want to then scale in this startup space, you have to be a leader. You have to learn to take initiative. Nobody's going to be spoon feeding you or baby because everybody has too much work to do. So it's then on you to make the right kind of decision. So I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, absolutely. And my other advice question that I have is, you have your own side hustle on top of doing all the work that you do for another startup.
Mm-hmm.
So what advice do you have to anyone who wants to pivot and journey into entrepreneurship for their own interest and their own passion?
One mistake I see people make is they're always particular about solutions rather than problems. So if you want to venture into creating your own startup, I guess that's what your question was about, like creating your startup or creating your business, I would say be more focused on finding problems and not creating solutions at the beginning. Because sometimes if you run ahead and create a solution, your solution is solving what problem? You may not find that problem at the end of the day. But if you start with looking for the problem, you then will be able to create a solution that matches the problem that you are trying to solve. So that's my first advice. And then the second advice I would give is one thing that I'm seeing people doing that I don't quite agree with, or I don't want younger people to make, is when you are starting out, have a mindset or have a sustainable mindset. Think about this problem long term. Think about this company long term. When you think about it that way, you'll be able to rally the adequate help that you need. And before you rush off to start your own company or your own business, I think it's very important that you do your research and then you learn from people that have gone, ahead of you, because there are mistakes those people have made. But if you speak with them, they will tell you and you will avoid making such mistakes. So, I mean, if you want to venture into entrepreneurship or you want to own a business, like a tech-owned business, I mean, I support you big time, but just make sure you are finding the right problems and don't be too scared to go for the big problems. In fact, investors, stakeholders, they give more attention to people who are coming with big problems because it's big, it's scalable, is like it has more reach, and it shows that you are really a visionary and not just someone who wants to do something, for the moment or. And another thing I would say is it's great to have passion, but I see a lot of young people miss it because of passion. Like you have passion, that's one thing, right? You can be passionate about a cause. But there's one statement that came to my head some time ago when I was just thinking about problems that people face or young people are going to face if they are not careful, which is passion but no brains. So you can be passionate about a cause or something, but you need to come with your brain. I mean, do your proper research, learn the principles behind how this is going to fly, know exactly, like you need to be well learned about that area. And you don't have to know everything at first, but as you go on, you definitely will uncover. And that's pretty much it.
I think that's excellent advice.
Thank you.
So my advice question, kind of more specifically, since you deal with like community engagement and communications, for a lot of teams that might be like at FastForward U, where we are, that are in the early stages, we get a lot of people, making biotech devices, things like that, engineers. They might not be thinking about community engagement and communication. So what would be your advice on some of the things that they could do now for their teams?
I see the need to answer this question more than often because I see a trend. Doctors, like medical professionals, healthcare professionals, people with great ideas, they focus so much on executing the ideas and they forget that there are channels they can leverage on to drive awareness and to build trust about the brand. So, for one, people don't trust your business, they trust you. So, it's important that you are, as an entrepreneur, it doesn't have to be on social media, but I need to know who this person is and I need to have a sense of trust towards them based on what I can see or read about them. And when it comes even to the business world, you'll see that a lot of businesses these days are doing well when they leverage on social media platforms. I mean, like for my personal business, I've sold over 300 copies of books. Yeah, we make sketch pads, and I've sold over 300 copies in I think 3 to 6 months over social media. Like we do not have a store. So again, I'm not just trying to say have a social media presence. I'm just trying to say ideas don't do well when you are not in the community that can adopt your solution, or you are not in the midst of people that you can solve their problems. Like if your solution is solving this problem, then you need to find the target market and then build a community around them because they're the ones that you need to reach. And a way to do this is first by being authentic. Nobody likes a liar. Like, be honest, tell your brand story. And I'm really happy because Helium, or a few weeks ago, we got mentioned as one of the top three Africa Challenger brands in Africa. And one thing that was really commended was how well we told our story. So we really tell people our story. Like you would see it across our channels. You hear it when you speak to anybody in the organization, like what we're passionate about, what we are doing in Africa's ecosystem. So yes, you need to be authentic with your story. And then you need, as I said before, you need to know exactly who you need to reach. And then you now need to draft a plan on how you need to reach them. And the final game that will make people continue to come to you is when you are showing them how much you care about them. Don't always make it about your business. Make it about them and the problems they are facing, because obviously they already have a solution to help them solve their problem, and they will definitely come to you. So for me, community engagement is key. Communications is a skill that you don't have to possess, but if you want to be on a team, or if you want to build a product that would last the test of time, then it's very important that you have someone interested or someone who can speak to storytelling, to communications, someone who can make your customers feel loved, and feel appreciated, someone who can tell you as a founder, okay, this is how, or these are the things you can say, these are the places you should go, these are the people you should meet. All of these things are very, very important. Again, people do not do business with people they don't like. So you have to make sure that just care for people. Be the person that I want to love. Really. 'Cause that's it.
I think that's a great note to end on. You've given so much great advice in this short period of time, and I've really enjoyed just hearing more about your mindset on startups, work, entrepreneurship, etc. So my last question is just what websites, socials can listeners check out in order to learn more, not only about Helium Health, but about you and your startup as well?
Thank you very much. I'm glad I've been able to give so much value in this short period of time. I think this comes with having worked in a sector for a couple of years. which is something I'm going to just encourage everybody listening to this podcast with. I don't know why, but I feel like I should speak to the fact that sometimes as young people, we feel like, oh my God, I'm not doing anything in my life. I'm just tired. Like, I'm not even doing this well. I'm doing that well. But the time will eventually come for all of us. You just need to be focused more on accumulating, gathering resources, increasing in knowledge, taking up projects that would burnish your skills. You don't have to be faced about, how much I'm going to make for summer or something. Like, there are other things you can be focused on. So, to help you and build your skills. So I'll say that if you want to find my business, my startup is Scribble, like Scribble, when you scribble stuff, Scribble Horde. Horde means community. So literally, we're building a community of scribblers. So Scribble and Horde. Horde is spelled HORDE. We're on Instagram and we have our website as well. For my personal account, I recently deleted all my posts from Instagram, but I'll get more pictures taken soon and I'll share them. So currently I'm doing a thing called Journey to 100 because I've been getting lots of young people ask me, you're doing amazing in your career. How can I venture into communications? I feel so depressed. I don't know what I'm doing in my life. I have so many skills. I want to be in health at the same time. I want to be a content creator. How can I find the balance? So I'm like, you know what, for the next, as long as possible, I'm going to be taking a day to just talk about, all of these things and find ways to solve the problem. So my personal account is Lauretta Hamza. Lauretta is Lauretta, then Hamza is HAMZA. And then for Helium Health, I also have a website. Interestingly, it's more of a portfolio or a website, whatever. I built it over Notion, and it's very beautiful. It's just Lauretta.com. If you use just Lauretta.com, you'll find it. It's Notion. I built it over Notion. In fact, there's a way you can make your URL, I don't know, because Notion has this really long, I don't know if you use Notion, but then I did a little bit of coding work and I was able to hack it. So I connected my Notion to my domain. And now when you go on just Lauretta.com, yes,
we need your hack because we use this. We use Notion for our Spark teams. She's over here with all the tips, okay?
Yes, that is interesting. Okay, so that would be a whole different session. You guys can let me know when you are free. I'll be happy to do a tutorial. But yes, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lauretta. I'll make sure to include all of these links in our description box for our podcast and for our video. But again, it's been such a great past 30 minutes talking with you. And I'm definitely going to contact you, not just about the hacks, but you're just an amazing person. And I feel so inspired after talking to you.
Definitely.
I'm grateful. Thank you so much. I'm grateful.
Okay, it's time for our fave finds in person. Whoop, whoop. And to be honest, I did not come prepared to this recording with a fave find, so I'm pulling this one out of the air. But I think lately, when we're recording this, we're having a game night. People are actually playing Mario Kart right now in our space. And we just had some students in the space playing board games. So I am going to say that my fave find lately has been games because I feel like I've been playing more. You're indoors, it's all cozy. And I will link the latest game that I just played yesterday with my boyfriend. I cannot think of the name off the top of my head, but it's a 2-player game. It's really cool because it's like you're building your own city and it goes through like 3 ages. And you have to build like your resources, whatever, but you have to try and beat the other person's city within a certain amount of time. So I will try and link it because I never heard of it until we started playing it. We found it at Target for like $30. It's really cool because I didn't know that 2-player games were a thing. So it's a really cool way to just pass time, date night, friend night, sibling night, whatever. And also get creative, trying to build your town. I made like 7 wonders of the world yesterday and it was really cool.
Yeah, as in-person events are allowed more, I think, game nights and board nights will start being a thing again.
Yeah, take a break from the digital space. Play a board game.
Yeah. Because after 2 years of playing Among Us.
Gets old after a while.
Yeah. My fee fine, for backstory, I went to 2 weddings in October, and one of them was in upstate New York, and so while I was traveling, I was going to be staying with a friend, and he texted me, and he was like, hey, here's the code for you to get into our house. And I was like, what? And then I realized when I got there, like, his, instead of having, like, a lock and a key, it just is, like...
Oh, yeah, that's how my apartment is.
Yeah, and, like, and it's all, like, digital, but it's, like, his house. And, like, and he was like, tell me about it, and he's like, yeah, and you can, like, I gave you a code that expires in, like, 3 days, so that, like, it's not, like, our code for, like, me as the homeowner. And I was like, say more right now. Like, tell me about, like, he like, basically turned his house into, like, a smart house. And, like, the app, or I guess the company that he used to do it was called Yale, like, literally the college. And, like, it did a bunch of other stuff, too. So, like, he had the code to his house, and, like, it auto-locked his doors after 5 minutes. Like, I was like, this is brilliant, so I never will forget, to, like, make sure, like, I don't get murdered for a night, like, whatever. Like, it tracks how much water, like, I mean, he smartified his house in so many ways. It tracks how much water he uses, how many gallons he uses, like, all this other stuff. And I was like, I need to do this for my home when in a million years when I actually have money to, like, own a house. But, like, all of those things just, like, seemed like the future. And I was like, I'm the least technologically advanced person on the planet. So hearing him tell me about, like, all the ways in which, like we can make homes smart and, like, track all of these things, I was like, this is amazing. And, like, I wouldn't know. And, like, even the stuff I do know is only because of, like, the fact that I had a bunch of college roommates, telling me where the future was going, or telling me what phone to buy, or, like, you know what I mean?
You're stuck in, like, 20 years in the past.
I am an old lady.
Yeah, I definitely think it's the way of the future. My apartments, I live in an untraditional apartment in the sense that they used to be, like, single-family homes, and then they renovated them years ago, and it's only 4 people to an apartment building, so it still looks like a house as opposed to an apartment. But yeah, all the doors are auto-locked, so the actual apartment building itself has their own code that everyone in the apartment knows, and then the mail people know, so that way they can drop your packages off inside. But then each individual apartment has that code connected to your phone app, where you can do, like, we don't have, like, the water stuff, it's not that fancy, but you can give temporary codes to people. You can also check your AC to see if you've left it on and change it when you're not there. So, like, if it's summertime and I'm not at my apartment and my apartment's overheating, it'll give me a warning to turn my AC on, or etc. And they also have other things too, like, you can link up your lights to it, so you can set like a daytime alarm, or, like, you press a button for the morning time and it auto makes everything turn on, or have your AC turn off, whatever. But I don't ever do that much. I usually just use the lock just to make sure that I've locked my door after. But it's super convenient. Or, like, if you're bringing groceries, you can unlock your door ahead of time, so that way you can bring more up and you don't have to struggle to get the door open.
I feel like there are so many, like, convenient aspects to it like that. And, like, I remember one time I forgot to turn on my AC when I went home for a week, because it was, like, the one Christmas where it was, like, 70 degrees, and then it got very cold, or not my AC, my heat, and I was like, oh crap, like, I forgot to put my heat on. And then I had to call management and have them go in my apartment and, figure it out. But I feel like if I had that, it would have been so convenient.
I think a lot of apartments are gonna go that route because it is easier. Most people have smartphones now. The only thing that I always did wonder is, like, what if you don't have, I mean, you can still use the lock, but you don't get the features of, like, being able to check it or what have you on your phone. But yeah, like, I was surprised. I didn't expect going to my apartments when I toured it that they were going to have that, and they did. I was like, this is awesome. Like, let me get this now.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely so convenient, especially for us young people.
I think 50 years from now, if anyone listens to this podcast in the archives, they'll be like, wow, not all locks used to be automatic. Like, it'll probably be a normal thing now. Yeah, what is a key? I don't know what that is. But yeah, I'm glad that was your fave find. It is really cool, and I can see everything becoming that way. Maybe keys will go extinct within 50 years. Who knows? Innovation at its finest. Thank you guys again so much for listening in. We have some exciting new guests that we're going to be talking to, and I will actually hint at one because we've worked with her for over a year now for the Social Innovation Lab at Johns Hopkins, and I realized when I was editing a podcast, we have not talked to Madison Marks yet. So she will be an upcoming guest on our podcast. In the meantime, stay tuned. Feel free to catch up and listen. And if you want to see our faces, feel free to check out the FastForward U YouTube channel. But this is Carrie Ingram.
This is Erica Avery.
And thank you so much for listening to Start Here, the podcast. We'll talk to you guys next time. Bye, guys.